When learning culinary education, one of the first things that you need to learn are basic knife skills. These basic knife skills are going to allow you to get clean and even cuts, which you're going to be able to use in all of your cooking. But more importantly, you're going to be able to keep yourself safe. And the way that most knife skills are going to achieve this is by maintaining control over the blade. But before anything else, you first need to make sure that one, your cutting board is secure and won't shift around. A lot of cutting boards have grips underneath them which help keep them in place, but if yours doesn't have that, then you can always put a damp paper towel underneath. That'll help stabilize it as well. Then another thing you need to watch out for is to make sure that the knife that you're using is sharp. A sharp knife is actually way more safe than a dull one. This is because when using a knife, you have to put way less pressure on it if it's sharp. It's able to just glide right through whatever you're cutting instead of putting a lot of force on it. If you put a lot of force on it, there's a higher risk of you losing control of the blade and it slides off and maybe you cut yourself. Another thing you have to be sure of is that if you're not using your knife, if it's not in your hand, then it should stay on your cutting board. This helps keep your station organized and safe. If your knife is, wherever in your kitchen, then there's a higher likelihood of, you misplacing your hand or, it getting lost, which is very dangerous for a sharp blade. One other thing is that you need to make sure to wash your hands. Now I've just come back from washing my hands, and washing hands is obviously just important for keeping all the food, safe to eat. You obviously don't want to get any sort of dirt or germs on them. Now that we're ready to pick up the knife and actually begin cutting, some of the first things that we should look out for is how you hold the knife. A lot of people want to try and hold it like this to try and put your finger on the blade and try and keep control of it that way, but that's not a good way to do it. What you want to do is you want to take your index finger, you want to take it and put it over the blade like that on that side, just like that. Then on the other side, you want your thumb, you want to place it right here, and you also want to put an equal amount of pressure on there. You want to take your thumb and you want to place it right there and hold it like that. So now you got your knife like this. Once you have a good grip on it, it's called like a handshake grip. It's the best way to grip a knife. It keeps good control, able to put a good amount of force down when you're cutting it. Most importantly, it keeps you in control of the blade. That's what knife skills are all about. It's about being in control of the blade. Now that you have your dominant hand down, you need to focus on your non-dominant. Your non-dominant hand is what is going to be holding the food when you go and chop things. And a lot of people will, just put their hand flat down on something. That is not how you want to do it. What you want to do is you want to take sort of like a claw grip holding onto your food, and you want to tuck your fingers in. Tuck them in like that. So it's kind of like a claw. And you put that on whatever it is you're going to cut, and that way when you're holding the knife, holding it properly, it's only going to touch your knuckles. That's the furthest it's going to go, just like that. The furthest it's going to go is your knuckles. You're not going to be able to really cut yourself if you're cutting it properly. Like I'm touching my hand with my blade right now, obviously not getting cut. It's a much safer way of doing things. Helps you keep track of your fingers and keep them intact. And then once you've got those two hand sort of shapes down, you need to focus on how you're actually moving. When you move the blade, whenever you're chopping something, it's just like that. It's not any sort of straight down. It is not how you want to cut things. You want to cut things with a gliding motion. Just like that. And then with this kind of cut, you also want to make sure that instead of moving your knife across from what you're cutting, you're moving your left hand forward and sort of pushing the food into the knife like a conveyor. Now that we have the basics down, I will show you how to actually cut some vegetables. I have some vegetables here. Now that you have a basic understanding of how to cut things, I think it's important that I take some vegetables and show you some different kinds of cuts. For this first cut, it's going to be the slice cut. I chose a tomato, very simple to slice, very useful to slice. You can put it on, you know, like a burger, or you can have like a Capri salad. And what a slice cut is it's exactly what it sounds like. It is individual slices of whatever it is you're trying to cut. For a tomato, the first thing that you're gonna wanna do when cutting this is you're gonna just wanna take the ends right off. Just like that. My knife glides right through. Like I said, because it's a sharp knife, much safer. You know, you can cut this however thick or thin that you want. Get that nice motion down, and you've got one slice right here. If I want a bit of a bigger slice, bit of a chunkier slice of tomato, got something like that. That's a bit bigger than what I would actually like. Maybe I kind of like thin tomato slices. A little more difficult, but then boom, a thinner tomato slice. Now I've just gone and I've cut up some more of that tomato there. Now I've got these nice tomato slices. Now that we've got the slice cut down, I'm gonna turn and I'm gonna show you how to peel an apple. Now, instead of using a large chef's knife like this would just be way too big and clunky to try and shave the skin off of something. So instead, we're gonna shift to this paring knife. A paring knife is a much smaller blade. It's gonna be way better for peeling the skin off of anything. For peeling an apple like this, you're gonna wanna hold your knife like this. Ignore the thumb for now, and get these 4 fingers wrapped around it like this. And then you're gonna use your thumb to push the apple towards the knife. Just make sure that when you're pushing with your thumb, that you're pushing sort of away. This can be a bit of a difficult way to peel things. Just be safe with it. Got the first cut in there, and you just sort of peel like that. If you're good, then you should be able to do it all in one peel, but I'm not too amazing, so that's fine though. Just do it however it's gonna make you the most comfortable. Just make sure that you're being safe with it. Now we've got a peeled apple. Do whatever you want with the skin here, maybe eat it if you like. It's all okay. Now that we've gone and skinned the apple, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna try and cube it. Cubing is also exactly what it sounds like. You're just taking whatever it is you're trying to cut and you're turning it into cube shapes. Now the first thing that we're gonna try and do is we're gonna cut off the sides and try and remove the core from this thing. Got those 2 pieces. Now we've got this piece of cord. You can just toss out. And what we probably want to do first with these is we probably want to get these side pieces to be about the same width as the smaller pieces, if you can see there. And we can go ahead and shave off a little of the side, just get it to be a more cube shape. Just nicen things up a bit. It's perfectly usable. If you don't want to cut this, you don't have to. You can have more polygon shaped cube. got that. Now I'm gonna make these a more similar size. Cut it like that. Cut that like that. Now with all of these, this is a bit large to cut all at once, so I'm gonna go ahead and do it at three of these pieces at a time. Line it up like that. Put it in a way that'll be about a cube. It doesn't have to be perfect. If you want it to be perfect, go ahead and work at it. Now we've gone and we've made these relatively cube shapes, and you can go ahead, it's going to work a lot better bigger objects, you know, way more popular with something like a melon, obviously, with a lot more space. I did it in a way, I tried to not cut off so much that, you know, you didn't get a whole bunch. Well, I still try to retain a cube shape. It's kind of a messy between, but I like it. The next cut that you're going to learn is going to be the dice cut. Choose an onion for this because one of the most common things that you see in many recipes is a simple diced onion. A dice, similar to a cube, it's small, evenly cube-shaped cuts. Onions work really well with it, and I couldn't tell you how many times that I've used diced onion in something like a saute or even like a soup. So we've got our onion here, and the first thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna cut it in half. You wanna make sure you cut it in half along the root. This is supposed to keep the root intact on each end, which stops it from releasing whatever chemical it is that makes you cry. The less you cry, the more you're gonna be able to focus and cut safely. Now we've got our two halves here. We're gonna do this one by one, leave the other for later. I'm gonna go ahead and take this end off here. First thing you wanna do is you're gonna peel some of the outer layer of this onion off. Now, after you've got that outer layer off, you're gonna wanna make some cuts. You're gonna wanna make some cuts on the inside of the onion. Just don't go past the root, don't cut all the way, just into it a little bit. I'm gonna go ahead and just make two cuts here. That's good for me. Now we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna put it like this. And we're gonna start cutting away. And slices like that, make sure it's about evenly spaced. Get you a nice even dice. Got that? Turn it the other way. Then we have this end. With the root still on it, go ahead and just toss that. Don't even worry about it. Now that we've got that, we've gone ahead and got some nice diced onion. Next cut that is going to be important is the julienne cut. This cut is mostly decorative. You know, you'll see it a lot in like salads or like with pickling carrots. And it's just like thin rectangular strips. The first step that we're gonna take in order to achieve this is we're gonna cut off both ends of this carrot. Then now that we've got this, we're gonna cut it into about 2-inch spots. I'll just cut this equally into about 3 pieces. The official length of a julienne is about 2 inches though. important to keep in mind. The first thing that you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna wanna take one of your segments here. You're gonna wanna cut a little bit off just to keep it flat there and not rolling around. It's much easier to cut when things aren't gonna be rolling around so much. After that, you're gonna go ahead and you're going to slice about 1/8 of an inch into each carrot. Now that you've got a few slices, you're gonna stack them on top of each other and then cut 1/8 of an inch in again. And then you've got yourself some nice julienned carrots. Repeat this on the other 2 inches and you'll be good to go. Gone ahead and cut the rest, and now you've got some nice julienne carrots. Now the final cut that you'll learn is the easiest. This is simply the rough chop, which is, once again, exactly what it sounds like. It's just in whatever shape that you're gonna need it to be. And let's say that I'm wanting to take the zucchini and chop it up into pieces to sit in a while for like a soup or something. Then the first thing I'm gonna do is take the end off, just like that. Flip to the other side, take that end off. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna chop it into maybe some pretty thick slices, you know? Doesn't have to be the same, it can be any thickness, just as long as it ends up being pretty evenly cut between all the pieces. This will be fine to throw into a soup if you're gonna be cooking it for a while. It'll make it real soft, not very bite-sized. If I change my mind and I want it bite-sized, then I can just it's a little more bite-sized. And with this rough chop, the goal is to really just get them into evenly cut pieces for whatever you need. Now I've got a bunch of different kinds of zucchini cuts that I can use in however way I want. And then with that, these are all the basic cuts and chops that you're gonna need to learn for some of the more basic culinary. After learning all these cuts and chops, you should be able to implement this and the cutting skills in order to make more accurate cuts within all of your cooking, and it should help to keep you a lot safer. I don't have any cuts on my hands or anything. Do whatever you want with them.